She looked at me across the table. Calm,
Don't wait up for
beautiful,
me.
untouchable. The candlelight flickered between us, reflecting off her eyes like they were made of something more expensive than truth. Noah, she said softly, love doesn't pay the bills. That was the night I lost her. Not because I didn't love her enough, but because love wasn't enough for her. My name is Noah Blake, and I used to believe that love could survive anything, even empty pockets and unfinished dreams. I was wrong. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because this is just the beginning. Lena Carter, my girlfriend, my anchor, my everything. We met in college, both chasing the same dream, to build something that mattered. She had the vision, I had the drive. Together, we believed we'd conquer the world, but reality doesn't care about your plans. While I was busy building my first startup, she was building expectations, bigger, brighter, heavier ones. I still remember that last dinner vividly. The restaurant wasn't fancy, but it was ours. I'd booked the same spot where I'd first told her I loved her. I even wore the same watch, cracked glass and all. I thought it would remind her of how far we'd come. It only reminded her of how far she wanted to go. Noah, you have dreams, but Damien has results. The name hit like a punch. Damien Hale, the CEO with a smile that belonged on magazine covers. The man every investor wanted to meet, and apparently, the man Lena wanted to be with. He offered me a position at his company, she said, her tone flat. He believes in me. So do I whispered. Then show me. That line stuck in my chest. Show me. As if my worth could be measured in paychecks and Prada. The check arrived, and she didn't even pretend to reach for it. I paid. She thanked me, and just like that, she walked away, leaving me with a bill and a broken vision. When I got home, I sat in the dark for hours. The silence felt heavier than the debt I owed. I scrolled through old photos. Her smile, our plans, her laugh when I told her I'd name my company after her initials. All gone. The next morning, I went to the office, what was left of it. My co-founder had already quit, investors were ghosting me, and the landlord wanted his rent. That's when I found the final blow. A legal email. Notice, Hale Enterprises has acquired your pending project license. I stared at it, heart numb. That wasn't just business. That was her. Lena had not only left me, she'd helped him destroy me. I walked out of that building with nothing but a box of papers and the realization that some people don't leave because they stop loving you. They leave because they love something else more. That night, standing on my balcony, I promised myself one thing. If the world valued success more than loyalty, then I'd give it success. So loud, so undeniable, that even she wouldn't recognize the man she walked away from. I didn't know it then, but that vow was the start of everything, the fall, the rise, and the revenge that would make the world remember my name. Failure doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, quietly, like rust. For weeks after Lena left, I pretended I was fine. I went to work, made calls, sent emails, all while watching the life I'd built collapse in slow motion. Investors pulled out, partners stopped replying, and the worst part, the people I trusted the most suddenly acted like they never knew me. My company, my dream, was dying, and I couldn't save it. I used to believe hard work was enough, that if you just kept grinding, life would eventually reward you. But love and business both have a cruel rule. Nobody bets on the losing side. I was the losing side. One night, I sat alone in my empty office. Desks cleared, lights off, just me and the faint glow of my laptop. That's when I saw the article. Hale Enterprises acquires innovative tech startup, led by rising executive Lena Carter. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. It wasn't just business. It was personal. She'd taken my blueprints, my prototypes, my vision, and handed them to him, the same man whose business card she once compared to my heart. I stared at her photo in that article. Her smile wasn't the one I used to know. It was colder, sharper, the kind of smile you wear when you've won a game no one else knew you were playing. That night, something inside me broke. Not just my heart, but my belief in fairness. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I just kept replaying the moment she said, "He believes in me." No, she believed in him, because he had what I didn't. Power. Days turned into weeks. One by one. Everything vanished. My savings, my apartment, my reputation. I moved into a small one-room flat on the city's edge, living off coffee and pride. Sometimes I'd pass billboards of Damian Hale, the man I was supposed to compete against. He looked untouchable, and next to him, in some glossy magazine photo, was Lena, her hand on his chest. Her smile, brighter than ever. It was like the universe had staged a cruel joke. The woman I'd loved was now the face of my downfall. One evening, I met my old friend Marcus for a drink. He was one of the few who hadn't disappeared when things went bad. "You've got to move on, Noah," he said gently. "People like them always fall. You just have to survive long enough to see it." I laughed bitterly. "I don't want them to fall, Marcus. I want to rise, higher than both of them combined." He looked at me, not with pity, but with recognition. The kind of look that says, "You stopped being a victim." That night, I went home and opened a blank notebook. On the first page, I wrote 3 words in capital letters: "No more trust." Then, below it, another line: "Rebuild." Alone. It wasn't a plan. It was survival. For months, I studied business, marketing, leadership, psychology. Every skill I'd once relied on others for, I learned myself. The nights were long, the money short, but something was changing. The fear was fading. The anger was turning into fuel. I stopped chasing people. I started chasing purpose. And slowly, painfully, I began to rebuild. Every invoice paid felt like a victory. Every client gained was a piece of my soul reclaimed. By the end of that year, I was no longer Noah the failure. I was Noah Blake, the man who'd lost everything, but refused to stay lost. And somewhere in the city skyline, behind those glass towers where Lena now lived her perfect life, I whispered to myself, "You chose business over love, Lena. Now I'll show you what happens when love becomes business." They say rock bottom teaches you lessons that success never can. They're right, because once you lose everything, you stop fearing loss. After my company collapsed, I didn't chase people anymore. I chased purpose. I started small. Freelance consulting, marketing gigs, anything that paid for a roof and black coffee. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. My mornings started before sunrise. My nights ended with the city lights blinking through a cracked window. Sometimes, the silence was so heavy it felt like it was judging me. But I kept going. The first step wasn't rebuilding a company. It was rebuilding myself. I read every book I could find: business, finance, leadership, even psychology. If Damian Hale and people like him had power, I wanted to understand where it came from and how to build my own version of it. I started taking notes on every interaction, every deal, every person I met. Patterns, habits, weaknesses. The world was one big chessboard, and I was finally learning how to play. Weeks turned into months. I began consulting for small startups, companies no one cared about. But I cared, because each one taught me something new. One night, after finishing a late project, I checked my email. A message from an unknown sender. "Heard you're good with brands. Need help fixing mine." J. Wolf. That single email changed everything. Wolf was a retired investor, the kind of man who'd seen empires rise and crash. When we met at his quiet penthouse, he looked at me the way a general looks at a soldier who's seen war. "Wolf, you've been burned." "Noah, you could say that." "Wolf, good. Fire builds better men." He hired me, not as a consultant, but as an apprentice. He said I reminded him of himself 30 years ago, before success turned to cynicism. Under him, I learned everything that schools and heartbreak never teach you: negotiation, risk, patience. He'd pour whiskey, sit back, and say things I'd write down like scripture. Power isn't about owning things, Noah. It's about controlling what others can't see. That line stuck with me. In 2 years, with his guidance, I built a new company, quiet, clean, and invisible. A media consultancy that operated behind the curtains of billion-dollar brands. While others chased fame, I built influence. And for the first time since Lena, I felt alive again. But success didn't erase the past. It sharpened it. Every milestone reminded me of what I'd lost and what I was becoming. One evening, while reviewing quarterly reports, I came across a familiar name, Hale Enterprises. Their stock was climbing, their expansion plan aggressive, and on the board of directors, Lena Carter. For a long time, I just stared at the screen. The anger didn't return, only focus. I closed the laptop and whispered to myself, let's see how long they can stay at the top. The next morning, I filed a trademark for a new subsidiary, Blake Strategies. No flashy press, no public presence, just quiet moves, powerful results. By the end of that year, we'd signed 3 high-profile clients, 2 of which were direct competitors to Hale Enterprises, and somewhere deep inside, a storm that had slept for years finally opened its eyes. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about balance. I had spent years being the man she underestimated. Now, I was becoming the man her world depended on. And the best part, she still had no idea who I'd become. 3 years later, I walked into the same city that once spat me out, and this time, it bowed. Billboards carried the names of my clients. Magazines wrote articles about the ghost consultant behind global brands. No one knew my full story, and that's exactly how I wanted it. I had become what people feared and admired at the same time, unseen power. The man they once called a failure had turned into a name whispered in corporate corridors. And Blake, people thought Blake Strategies was backed by investors, by conglomerates, by legacy money. But it was just me, a one-man army who learned how to move without noise. And in a world addicted to attention, silence is terrifying. Every move I made was calculated. Every deal, a piece of a puzzle that I'd been building since the night she left. One afternoon, Clara, my assistant, entered my office, holding a stack of envelopes. Just the usual invites and contracts, she said. Any of them worth opening? Maybe this one. The envelope was white, sealed with gold foil. The logo embossed on it made my heart stop for half a second. Hale Enterprises. It wasn't anger that hit me. It was recognition. Fate. Arriving right on schedule, I slid it open. A corporate gala invitation. The words were formal, polite, and predictable, except for one name at the bottom. Signed, Lena Carter, Executive Director, Hale Enterprises. I leaned back in my chair and smiled, not out of bitterness, but amusement. The universe had a wicked sense of humor. Anything interesting? Clara asked. Just an old acquaintance trying to remember me. She tilted her head. You're going. Of course, it'd be rude not to. That night, I poured myself a drink and stood by the window of my penthouse. The city lights glittered below, like stars that had fallen and decided to stay. I remembered standing at a window once, broke, forgotten, watching the same skyline and promising I'd come back. And here I was. Not just back, above. The news was buzzing that week. Hale Enterprises announces expansion gala. They were trying to attract new investors. Perfect. I did my homework. Damian Hawley's empire was still strong, but cracks were forming. Small, hidden fractures behind their numbers. Too much ego. Too many shortcuts. Lena was keeping the company alive with charm and manipulation. Typical. For the first time in years, I saw her face again, in a magazine feature about women leading the future. Her photo stared back at me, confident, polished, flawless. But behind those eyes, I could still see the same hunger, the same endless chase for more. I smirked. Still chasing, aren't you, Lena? I wasn't going to humiliate her. I wasn't going to shout or seek vengeance. No, my revenge would be colder, silent, professional, poetic, the kind that doesn't ruin people. It replaces them. As I closed the magazine, a memory flashed. Her voice, that night, saying, Noah, love doesn't pay the bills. She was right. Love didn't, but strategy did. And now, Every bill in the room had my signature on it. I checked my calendar. The gala was in 2 weeks. A perfect setting, elegant, public, powerful. And for the first time in years, I felt it, that old heartbeat, steady and strong. This wasn't about her anymore. This was about the version of me she created, the one she'd never recognize until it was too late. The night of the gala arrived wrapped in gold and ego, the kind of night where people wore confidence like cologne and smiles like weapons. Luxury cars lined the entrance, flashbulbs erupted, and the air smelled of champagne and ambition. But I wasn't there to celebrate. I was there to observe. When my car stopped at the red carpet, I stepped out slowly, tailored black tuxedo, silver watch, calm eyes. The cameras turned, flashes painting my arrival in bursts of light. That's him, Noah Blake, or N. Blake from Blake Strategies, the one every company's talking about. Yeah, nobody really knows where he came from. Good, let them wonder. Inside, the ballroom gleamed, chandeliers, marble floors, and conversations that smelled like money. I walked through it all, nodding politely, saying little. I didn't need attention. It found me anyway. Then I saw her. Lena Carter. She stood near the center of the room, laughing with 2 investors, her hair cascading perfectly over her shoulder, her dress a shimmering reflection of her ambition. Time didn't stop. It just slowed down long enough for me to remember everything I'd buried. She hadn't changed. She just perfected the mask. Her laughter faded when her eyes met mine. For a moment, she froze. It wasn't recognition yet, more like curiosity. A flicker of I've seen him somewhere before. I walked to the bar, ordered a drink, and waited. Experience had taught me that in rooms like this, curiosity was stronger than gravity. 5 minutes later, she approached. Her perfume hit first, the same one she used to wear years ago. Jasmine and nostalgia. Lena, I don't think we've met before. I'm Lena Carter. Noah, smiling faintly, I know who you are. Lena, laughed softly, and you are? Noah Blake. I run Blake Strategies. Her pupils widened slightly. The name registered. She'd heard it before. Everyone had. Lena, of course. Your company's been making waves lately. Damien mentioned you. Noah, then I suppose I've already made an impression. She smiled politely, trying to regain control. Lena, what brings you to our event tonight? Noah, curiosity and opportunity. Her lips curved. Lena, you sound like a businessman. Noah, no, Miss Carter. I sound like someone who learned the cost of trust. For a second, her confidence cracked, just a flicker. She laughed again, covering it. Lena, you have a way with words, Mr. Blake. Noah, words are just promises that haven't been broken yet. She tilted her head, studying me, trying to place the voice, the face, the familiarity. But I didn't give her time. I raised my glass slightly and said, I'll see you around, Miss Carter. As I walked away, I could feel her eyes following me through the crowd, the same way I used to follow her when she was everything I wanted. Now, she was just part of the scenery. Across the room, Damien Hale made his grand entrance, older, louder, surrounded by admirers. When he saw Lena talking to me, his smile faltered. Who's that? He asked. A consultant, she said. Stay away from consultants. They always want something. I smirked from a distance. He was right. I did want something, but not money, not fame. Just balance. As the night went on, the 3 of us moved in the same orbit, close enough to collide. Pretending not to, I could feel the storm building quietly beneath the champagne and small talk. Before leaving, I passed by Lena one more time. Noah, it was good meeting you, Miss Carter. I have a feeling we'll be seeing more of each other soon. Lena, oh, why's that? Noah, smiling because life always circles back to unfinished business. Her smile faded, but I didn't wait for an answer. I just walked away, the sound of her silence following me through the gold-lit hall. Business deals aren't made on paper. They're made in silence, in the glances that last a second too long, in the words left unsaid. That's how I played it. After the gala, Hale Enterprises reached out within 48 hours. A proposal, a collaboration, a meeting. The irony wasn't lost on me. Years ago, Damien Hale took everything I had. Now, he wanted me at his table, without even knowing it. When I walked into his office, the first thing I noticed wasn't the expensive art or the skyline view. It was her. Lena was there, sitting across from him, legs crossed, her posture perfect, her smile sharper than ever. But when she saw me, that smile faltered just slightly. Damien, Mr. Blake, finally, we meet. I've heard a lot about your work, Noah, and I've heard a lot about yours. His handshake was firm, his confidence loud. He had no idea he was shaking hands with his unfinished consequence. The meeting began. Numbers, strategies, projections. But beneath the spreadsheets, another conversation was happening, the kind only eyes could speak. Lena avoided my gaze at first, then started watching me, trying to read me, trying to remember. I kept my tone neutral, my words measured. I wanted her to feel safe. For now, after the meeting, Damien leaned back in his chair. Damien, you're sharp. Blake, I like that. I think there's potential here. Noah, I think so too. Lena added softly. Lena, our companies could benefit from each other's networks. I turned to her, smiling faintly. Noah, we've crossed paths before, haven't we, Miss Carter? Lena, smiling carefully maybe, but I never forget faces. Noah, then you're due for a reminder. Her expression tightened. Damien didn't notice, too busy talking about growth projections and market value. By the end of the meeting, the partnership was nearly sealed. They thought they were recruiting me. In reality, they were opening their doors, and I was walking in with a matchstick. When I got home that night, I opened my laptop and pulled up Hale Enterprises' internal structure, public data, press releases, investor lists. Everything looked perfect. To perfect, and perfection is the easiest thing to break. Over the next few weeks, I made myself indispensable. I attended every meeting, offered every smart solution, predicted problems before they happened. Damien started trusting me, a dangerous mistake. He saw me as an asset. Lena saw me as a ghost. Every time our eyes met, she flinched. She wanted to ask. She wanted to know if I was him. But she didn't dare. One evening, after a long meeting, she caught me in the hallway. Lena, who are you really? Noah, someone who remembers everything you forgot. Lena, you're not making sense. Noah, don't worry, you will. I walked away before she could respond. I could feel her heart pounding from across the hall, not from love, but from realization. By the end of that month, I had access to Holly's data. Every deal, every client, every weak point. I didn't need to destroy them yet. I just needed them to think I wouldn't. This wasn't about chaos. It was about choreography. And the first rule of the game. Never show your hand until they've already played theirs. That night, I stood by my window again, the city glowing below. In another building across the skyline, Lena was probably staring out too, wondering why success didn't feel safe anymore. I smiled. You played your game once, Lena. Now it's my turn. And this time, the stakes weren't love or business. They were legacy. Revenge doesn't always begin with anger. Sometimes, it begins with a spreadsheet. For weeks, I had been watching Hale Enterprises from the inside, smiling in meetings, shaking hands, drinking coffee with the same people who once took everything from me, and they never saw the storm coming. It started small. I found inconsistencies in their financial reports, missing figures, altered numbers, projects that existed only on paper. At first, I thought it was laziness. Then I realized it was intentional. Damien Hale wasn't a genius. He was a thief with a great tailor. I spent my nights in my office, lights dimmed, screens glowing, connecting dots, saving copies, tracing money trails that didn't add up. And at the center of it all, there she was. Lena Carter. She'd helped him build the illusion. She'd helped him sell it. And now, she was going to help me destroy it. It took only one leak, A single file sent to the right hands under an anonymous name. Government auditors, corporate watchdogs, the press. I gave them a spark. The fire spread itself. Within days, rumors started swirling. Hale Enterprises under investigation. Stock price wobbling. Shareholders panicking. In their weekly meeting, the tension was thick enough to choke on. Damien's voice trembled with fury. Damien, who the hell leaked this? Lena, we're handling it. Damien, it could be competitors trying to discredit us. Noah, quietly, or someone who knows the truth. She turned to look at me, eyes wide. She knew that tone. Recognition. Fear. Memory? Lena, what are you implying, Mr. Blake? Noah, smiling calmly. Just that honesty's expensive, and it seems your company can't afford it. After the meeting, she cornered me in the hallway. Her voice was sharp, trembling slightly. Lena, you did this? Noah, did what? Lena, don't play games with me. I know you're behind this leak. Noah, you give me too much credit. Lena, maybe the truth just doesn't like to stay buried. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Lena, why are you here? Noah, to return what was taken. For a second, all the power she thought she had, it vanished. Her eyes softened, almost pleading. Lena, you could have told me. You could have. Noah, told you what? That you destroyed me. That you sold me out for a promotion. He smiled faintly. No, Lena, some stories don't deserve explanations, only endings. I walked away, leaving her in silence, the same silence she left me with years ago. That night, the headlines exploded. Hale Enterprises under investigation for fraud and misconduct. Damien Hawley's empire was cracking under its own weight. I didn't celebrate. I just watched. Lena tried calling me. Multiple times. I never answered, because this wasn't revenge out of hate. This was balance out of justice. By the end of that week, Hawley's board had suspended operations. Damien's face was plastered on every news outlet, and Lena, the woman who once left me for success, was now watching it burn around her. I closed my laptop and stared out my window at the skyline. Somewhere across that glittering city, she was probably crying, realizing that the man she'd helped destroy had just written her final chapter. You taught me betrayal, Lena, I whispered. I just learned how to make it beautiful. When power collapses, it doesn't scream, it sighs. And that's exactly how the Hale Empire fell. Quietly, beautifully, inevitably. By the time I walked into their headquarters that morning, the damage was done. Reporters outside, lawyers pacing the lobby, security guards looking confused, shareholders looking betrayed. Inside, chaos had replaced confidence, and at the center of it all, Lena Carter. Her hair was messy, her voice hoarse, her desk buried under paperwork and panic. She looked nothing like the woman I met at the gala. Not elegant, not proud, just human. When she saw me at the doorway, she froze. For a second, she didn't speak. Then, softly, Lena, why are you here? Noah, because you asked for me once. She swallowed hard, voice shaking. Lena, you did this, didn't you? Noah, I didn't destroy your company. Lena, I just showed the world what it already was. Tears pooled in her eyes, not because of guilt, but realization. All those choices, all those compromises, finally had a cost. Lena, you planned this for years. Noah, no, I prepared for years. You gave me the reason, he gave me the opportunity. She sank into her chair, shoulders trembling. Lena, I thought I wanted power. I thought success would fix everything. Noah, and what did it fix? Silence. The same silence she once gave me the night she left. Lena, I never stopped thinking about you. Noah, don't lie now. You stopped thinking about me the day he offered you a better office. She stood up, walked around the desk, eyes red but steady. Lena, you've become just like him. Noah, no, he lied to rise. I told the truth to end him. Her voice cracked. Lena, so, what now? You've ruined everything. Are you happy? I looked around the office. The empire that had once erased me, now crumbling under its own lies. Then I looked back at her. Noah, no, but I'm free. For a moment, she just stared at me, trying to find the boy she once knew, but he wasn't there anymore. Lena, I'm sorry. Noah, I know. I walked toward the exit. Behind me, I heard her whisper, do you ever think about what we could have been? I paused at the door. Every day. That's what made me who I am. When I stepped outside, the noise hit, flashing cameras, reporters shouting questions. I didn't answer any. I just kept walking, because revenge doesn't need witnesses. It only needs closure, and I'd just found mine. When an empire falls, it doesn't echo. It whispers. Within a week, Hale Enterprises was finished. The government froze their accounts. Investors pulled out like rats fleeing a sinking ship. The company that once ruled skylines now filled headlines, and none of them were kind. Damian Hale under investigation for corporate fraud. Lena Carter steps down amid scandal, the fall of a perfect empire. I didn't smile when I read the news. There was no victory left to taste, just silence, long and heavy. I stood by my window, coffee in hand, watching the world move on, because that's what it always does. You burn a chapter, and the city writes another. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but some ghosts are polite enough to knock before they haunt you. Lena, Noah, it's me. Her voice was softer, slower, like every word carried weight. Noah, I know. Lena, I wanted to tell you I'm leaving the city. I lost everything. Noah, no, you traded everything. You just didn't know the price. There was a pause. Long, trembling silence. Lena, was this your plan all along? Noah, no, my plan was to survive. The rest just happened, she sighed. The kind that carries regret deeper than words. Lena, I never wanted to hurt you. Noah, you didn't. You taught me. Then she said something I didn't expect. Lena, I saw your name on the Forbes list last week. You made it. Noah, you really did. Noah, yeah, but it doesn't feel like winning. Silence again. The kind that feels like the end of something, or be the beginning of healing. Lena, do you still hate me? I hesitated, then said the only honest thing left. Noah, no, I just don't need you anymore. She didn't reply. The line went dead. I placed the phone on my desk and looked out at the skyline. A city that once watched me fall now glittered under my name. But every light reminded me, success doesn't erase pain. It just decorates it. Later that night, I met Marcus, my old friend, for dinner. He raised a glass and said, you did it, Noah. You beat them. I shook my head. No, I just stopped playing their game. He looked at me for a long time, then nodded. You always were better at endings. We laughed, quietly, like men who understood that laughter is sometimes just another kind of pain. When I got home, I walked out onto the balcony. The wind was cold, but it felt good. I thought of Lena, her ambition, her mistakes, her fall. I thought of Damian, the man who believed he couldn't lose. And then I thought of me, the boy they both created. Everything was gone now. The war was over, but peace felt heavier than revenge ever did. I whispered into the night, you can win the world and still lose yourself. But I'd rather lose love than my purpose. And for the first time in years, I slept, not as Noah the broken, or Blake the powerful, but as a man who finally understood that sometimes letting go is the most elegant revenge of all. The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't ask for peace. It gives it. I stood on the rooftop of my penthouse, the city stretching endlessly beneath me, glowing, alive, indifferent. The same skyline that once mocked my failure now shimmered with the reflection of my success. For years, I thought revenge would make me feel complete. It didn't. It just made the silence louder. The phone in my pocket buzzed again. Another message I didn't need to read. Another news headline. Another person asking for my side of the story. There was no side anymore. There was just truth. I poured myself a drink, amber liquid catching the city lights, and took a slow sip. The wind brushed against my face. Cool, almost kind. In the distance, I could see the tower that once held the Hale Enterprises logo. Now, it stood empty, the lights gone out, the name removed, a hollow monument to greed and betrayal. I thought about Lena, where she might be. Maybe a small apartment, maybe another city, maybe sitting by a window, remembering the man she left behind. For years, I chased the idea of making her regret it. Now, I realized she already did, and that was enough. Behind me, the rooftop door opened softly. It was Marcus, my oldest friend, still the only person who spoke to me without fear or flattery. He handed me a file. "Marcus, another offer. Some investors want in on your new expansion." Noah, smiling faintly, let it wait. "Tonight, I'm off the clock." He chuckled, stepped beside me, and looked at the skyline. "Marcus, you built an empire from ashes." Noah, "Most people never get that far." Noah, "Yeah, but somewhere along the way, I realized the real empire wasn't the company. It was me." He nodded, understanding. Then he left me alone again with the wind, the city, and my thoughts. I took out my phone and opened the camera, framed the skyline, captured the moment, caption, "From nothing to no need for revenge." I posted it, not for the world, but for the version of me that once sat in the dark, broken, believing it was over, because it never was. It was just beginning. As the night deepened, I looked up at the sky. The same stars that had once watched me fail now blinked like they were proud. "You were right, Lena," I whispered. "Love doesn't pay the bills, but pain pays in lessons, and I've learned enough." I smiled, a quiet, peaceful smile. Then I turned, walked toward the stairwell, and disappeared into the darkness, not as a man who won, not as one who lost, but as someone finally free. The city kept shining, the wind kept moving, and the story, my story, had finally ended. The end.